Okay, so the verdict is in. The service tech from the dealer just came to look at the Ventrac, and he said there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So the completely shredded belt on the flail mower, the extremely worn belt on the flail mower, and the fact that I threw my brush cutter attachment belt twice and now it's pretty chewed up is still unexplainable. My best guess is that this was a used tractor. I had that PTO belt chunk missing. I think I probably received the belt that way. It was overlooked by the dealer, and something about that messing up the geometry. Maybe it was wearing the belts harder. To the best of my memory, I don't think I've thrown a belt since I replaced that PTO belt. So I'm hoping that that resolves the problem. If not, then I'm going to be really disappointed because I've already spent, let's see. So between the PTO belt I had to replace, the 2 flail mower belts, and the brush cutter belt I'm going to have to replace sooner than later, almost $100 on belts, and I've owned this less than a week. Less than, let me think, today's Monday. Yes, 6 days, and 1 or 2 of those days I didn't run this machine at all. Most of these problems happen in the first 2 days. So we'll see what this is about. I do have to take this to a job later, so fingers crossed that all goes well because I'm using the flail mower. Here's the flail mower belt that wasn't completely destroyed, but probably less than 8 hours on the attachment. One belt has this wear and the other was completely destroyed. Saving it as a backup, but hopefully I don't need it because that ain't gonna last too long. All right, so yesterday I did about 3.5 hours of mowing with the flail mower on a job, and I figured it might be a good idea to check the belts since the service tech said there was nothing wrong with the machine, nothing wrong with the belt alignment or tension on the flail mower itself. When he was here, I did a little bit of mowing, and after, I don't know, 4 minutes of mowing, one of the belts, I believe it was the inner belt, showed more wear than the outer belt. In my opinion, more wear than it should have in 4 minutes. So I'm just gonna pop that side cover off and inspect the belts and see what it looks like after 3.5 hours of mowing. And as a reminder, I only noticed that one belt is broken because I was doing some greasing on it because I wanted to make sure it was greased. I didn't know that there was a broken belt in there, so could be opening up a can of worms. Total surprise. So for this job, these are all 1/2-inch bolts. I use an impact. But for this bottom one, you need a wrench. You're not able to get a socket underneath there. For this one, I'd be better off with the shallow. Whoops. Half-inch ratcheting wrench would make this a lot easier. So, I'm sure here you could see what I'm talking about. I mean, these belts are in better condition than I was expecting, but the outside belt has really no wear on it. There is some cracking and peeling on this inner belt. I don't know if I'm going to be able to turn it at all. No. Well, you can see that. And plenty of the same pattern up top. So I'm not really sure how long these belts are going to last, or why that inner one is wearing so much quicker than the outer one. Again, I don't really see any funny business going on, but certainly there's a reason. All right, so I just wanted to talk about what I'm seeing here for a minute. I have the flail mower set to setting 12, which is 3 3/4 inches. The dealer told me that it cuts best between 4 and 5 inches. I've done that and ended up with a lot of these goldenrod that aren't knocked back. And I'm going pretty slow, but this is much more than 3 3/4 inches or even 4 or 5 inches. You know, that's at least a foot off the ground. And there's areas that are much worse than this, like way more standing goldenrod. And the whole point I'm doing this is to knock the goldenrod back to turn this into pasture eventually. So I'm going to try to run the flail a little bit lower and see if that improves my cut quality anymore. I get I'll have to go slower, but I'd rather not have to run this over twice. Let's try it at 3 inches. And I guess for this pass, I'll put the camera behind me so you can see what I'm cutting. Okay, so here's a little patch where I think it'd be interesting to look at the results. So this right here, I cut that, I believe, at the height setting for 3 3/4 or 4 inches just moments ago. And I think yesterday or the day before, I cut this at the same setting, maybe slightly higher. You could see it's the same material behind it. And then just by lowering it to 3 inches, this is what I end up with. Am I totally stoked and pleased with having this? No. Based off of everything I saw about this flail mower, I would end up with a much cleaner cut, but it's still astronomically better than that. So somehow within 3/4 to an inch of adjustment, you can go from something like this to something like this. Just gonna chalk it up to the learning curve, but I'm glad I did it sooner than later, so I only have to go back over this stuff. And I guess I just want to mention, I love goldenrod. You could see there's all these little brushy areas with small trees and stuff. I'm mowing around the willows. I want to keep all the willows. I just want to get rid of this rose and all the honeysuckle. Knock back the goldenrod so we could have animals here in the next year or two. But there's so many margins that are going to remain untouched and unmowed that will have plenty of goldenrod and milkweed. So don't anyone freak out over that. I know about this stuff too. I love goldenrod and milkweed. Just most grazing animals don't.